The phone buzzed once on Daniel Cole's mahogany desk. Then again, a voice note from his wife. He smiled, expecting her usual, "I love you" before bed. But when he pressed play, it wasn't meant for him. Her breathless laughter filled the quiet office. "Travis, stop. If Daniel ever finds out about last night..." The sound of another man's voice cut in, low and teasing. "He won't. He trusts you too much." Daniel's hand froze. His wife's voice, his best friend's laugh, in his own home. For 10 years, he'd built her dreams, paid her debts, raised their children. But what he just heard shattered everything he believed about love, loyalty, and trust. Now his eyes drifted toward the wedding photo on the shelf. Her smile perfect, her lie flawless. But what happens when a kind man discovers the truth too quietly? When a husband who never yells decides to listen instead? And when the voice you thought was yours becomes the weapon that ends you? Daniel Cole had spent the evening finishing inventory reports when his phone buzzed on the desk beside him. A voice note from Vanessa. He smiled at her contact name, My Sunshine, and tapped play. Her voice filled the quiet office, low and warm at first, then suddenly intimate in a way that didn't belong to him. "Travis, you drive me crazy," she whispered, laughing softly. "If Daniel ever finds out about last night, we're finished. But he won't. He's too busy pretending to be perfect." The sound of a man's laugh followed. Travis Langford's unmistakable baritone. Daniel froze. Every sound sharpened. The hum of the AC, the ticking of the wall clock, his own pulse. The message kept playing, her words tumbling out. Unguarded, careless, recorded in the same voice she'd used to say goodnight to him just hours ago. When it ended, the silence was suffocating. For a long moment he sat still, his hand resting on the phone like it might burn through his palm. He replayed the message. Then again. The timestamps confirmed it. Sent less than 5 minutes ago. Accidentally forwarded. His name had been a mistake. Her voice, her lover's laugh were not. He rose from his chair slowly, every motion deliberate. He wasn't the kind of man who broke things. Not the kind who shouted. Vanessa had once told her friends he was too calm for his own good. She never understood that his calm came from discipline. The kind that carried generations of quiet men who didn't show pain. They planned through it. He stepped outside into the cool Dallas night. The city skyline glittered ahead, cruelly peaceful. He stood there for minutes, letting the rage settle into something usable. Then he went back inside, sat, and began to forward the voice note to his private email. He labeled it, attached metadata screenshots, and saved a copy to a secure drive. Evidence. He didn't know what his next move would be yet, but he knew he wouldn't move blindly. When Vanessa got home, she found him still in the study, typing. She leaned against the doorway, her perfume floating before her words. "You're still up?" she asked casually, as if she hadn't just detonated their marriage. He smiled faintly, not looking up. "Inventory numbers," he said. His voice didn't shake. His fingers never paused. She kissed the top of his head, oblivious. "Don't stay up too late." The moment her footsteps disappeared down the hall, he stopped typing. His reflection in the dark window looked unfamiliar. Older, colder. He whispered the words to himself, testing how they felt on his tongue. Travis Langford. He scrolled through his phone, finding their last group photo, him, Vanessa, Travis, and Claire, at the charity gala 2 weeks ago. Vanessa's hand rested lightly on Travis's arm, her smile wide. Daniel had seen it then, thought it was the champagne. He knew better now. He forwarded that photo too, added it to the same encrypted folder. By morning, he would have every text, every timestamp, every piece of proof she'd buried beneath her perfect life. He picked up his phone again, opened his contacts, and hovered over one name, Alyssa Grant, family lawyer. It was after midnight. He could call, or he could wait. For now, waiting was power. He would let them believe he knew nothing, let them whisper, plan, and sleep beside betrayal one more night. Upstairs, he heard her soft laughter through the bedroom door, scrolling her phone, maybe messaging Travis again. The sound hit him like static, but he stayed seated, eyes fixed on the dark city. There was no anger left, only calculation. He pressed record on his phone, whispering a note to himself for the morning. Hire a private investigator. Keep everything quiet. Then he exhaled, long and steady, as if releasing the last piece of the man she once thought she could fool. When the phone screen dimmed to black, his reflection in it smiled faintly. "Good night, Vanessa," he murmured, and the tone in his voice made the night itself uneasy. The morning sunlight crept through the blinds, brushing the edge of Daniel's desk. He hadn't slept. The voice note still sat open on his screen, time-stamped, downloaded, and stored in 3 separate drives. Vanessa's soft humming drifted from the kitchen, the same woman who'd whispered another man's name hours ago. He adjusted his tie, glanced once at the mirror, and left without a word. By 8:30 a.m., he was sitting across from Frank Dalton, a retired detective turned private investigator, in a quiet Dallas cafe that smelled of burnt coffee and old secrets. Frank was heavy-set, mid-50s, eyes sharp behind tired lids. He listened without interrupting as Daniel played the voice note again through an earpiece. When the recording ended, Frank simply said, "That's your wife and your partner, no doubt." Daniel's jaw tightened. "I don't want confrontation. I want evidence. Proof that will hold up in court. Locations, dates, transactions, anything that ties them together." Frank nodded slowly. "You want to win before they know you're even fighting?" "Exactly." They discussed logistics, phone records, hidden cameras, hotel logs, financial traces. Frank's methods were quiet, professional, airtight. "You'll need to stay calm," Frank said finally. "Most men I meet in your shoes explode. You," he studied Daniel, "you're thinking 6 moves ahead." Daniel paid the bill, left a generous tip, and walked out without looking back. The mask of composure was beginning to feel natural. By evening, Frank was already in motion. He planted discreet tracking software on Vanessa's car through a valet contact, linked her calls to a shadow database, and flagged 2 hotels downtown where Travis was known to entertain clients. Daniel received updates each night, never replying with more than a single line, "Continue." At home, Vanessa played her part perfectly. She cooked dinner, teased him about work, texted under the table when she thought he wasn't looking. He noticed the glow of her phone at midnight, the way she smiled at the screen before slipping it under her pillow. He said nothing. Days stretched into weeks. Each morning, Frank's reports arrived. Photos, timestamps, receipts. Vanessa's phone pinging at Travis's location. Travis's car parked outside her Pilates studio. Hotel security footage showing her entering a suite at 10:42 p.m. and leaving before dawn. Then one afternoon, Frank sent something different. A scanned image of a hotel invoice. 2 guests, Suite 807, name on the reservation, Vanessa Cole, payment method, company credit card. Daniel stared at the screen, his pulse a slow drumbeat. She hadn't just betrayed him personally, she'd used company funds. That changed everything. That night when she came home smelling faintly of new perfume, he looked up from his laptop and smiled. "Long day," she laughed lightly, hanging her coat. "Traffic, and my phone's dying. Can I use yours for a call?" He handed it over without hesitation. She dialed quickly, turned away, whispering into the phone. He watched her reflection in the window, careful, calculating. She hung up, smiled sweetly, handed it back, and kissed his cheek. "Dinner in 10, she said. He nodded, scrolling through his recent calls once she left the room. Her outgoing number was hidden, but the last dialed digit still glowed faintly in the log. He saved it, cross-checked it against Frank's reports. A perfect match, Travis's private number. By the next morning, Daniel had forwarded every piece of evidence to Alyssa Grant, his lawyer, with a simple message: prepare quietly. Later that afternoon, Frank called with a measured tone. "She's meeting him tonight. The Hyatt, same room number. You want me to photograph?" Daniel stared out his office window at the distant skyline. "No," he said softly. "Not yet. I want them comfortable. Let them think they're safe." Frank paused. "You're sure?" Daniel's voice was calm, almost gentle. "Yes, because when I finally move, I won't need pictures. I'll have everything else." As the call ended, Daniel leaned back, exhaling slowly. Outside, the city lights began to flicker alive, unaware that within its glow, A quiet war had already started. Upstairs that night, Vanessa slept peacefully, her phone tucked beneath her pillow. Daniel lay beside her, eyes open in the dark, memorizing the sound of her breathing. Not with love, but with the precision of a man timing his next move. And just before dawn, he whispered into the darkness, "You have no idea what's coming." The first trap had already been set. The next Monday began like every other. Sunlight slipping through the blinds, coffee brewing, the sound of Vanessa's heels clicking on the tile. But Daniel's world had already shifted. The calm routine was camouflaged now. At exactly 9 a.m., he stepped into the glass-walled boardroom of Cole Logistics, the company he'd built from nothing with Travis Langford. They'd been friends since college. Daniel's business sense and Travis's charisma were once their secret weapon. Now sitting across from each other under the sterile glow of the overhead lights, their partnership felt like a loaded gun on the table. Travis grinned, leaning back in his chair, oblivious to the storm he'd walked into. "Morning, partner. You look like you didn't sleep." Daniel smiled faintly. "Been thinking about our vendor contracts. We may have some inconsistencies." Travis waved a hand. "Yeah, that's Meredith's department. She's good with the numbers." "She is," Daniel said evenly, eyes steady on him. "But I'd like to see everything myself. Just a hunch." Travis frowned slightly, a flicker of something crossing his face. Unease, maybe recognition. "You don't trust your own CFO now?" "I trust data," Daniel replied. "Numbers don't lie. People do." The silence that followed was brief but heavy. Daniel let it linger before standing. "Let's call a meeting with Meredith this afternoon." Travis nodded, smiling again, but his jaw was tight. "Sure, boss. Whatever keeps you sleeping at night." When Daniel left the room, his phone vibrated. A message from Alyssa Grant. "Received everything. Meeting at 2:00. Bring only what you can't replace." At 2:00, her office was cold, professional, filled with law books and quiet certainty. Alyssa was in her early 40s, brilliant and unflinching, the kind of attorney who could dismantle a lie with a single sentence. She read through Frank's reports, her brow furrowing only once. "You have him," she said finally. "Both of them. The affair, the financial fraud, misuse of corporate assets. But we'll need to keep this airtight." Daniel nodded. "How long until we can move legally?" "I'll file an injunction to freeze shared accounts," Alyssa said, tapping her pen against the table. "We'll use the company's financial irregularities as leverage to secure early discovery. You'll get access to her phone records, bank transfers, and anything else she thinks she's hiding." "Good," he said quietly. "Daniel," she added, voice softening, "you're remarkably calm for someone whose wife and best friend are sleeping together." He met her gaze, his tone almost kind. "Because this isn't anger anymore, Alyssa. It's accounting." She smiled faintly. "Then let's balance the books." By evening, the motions were already in play. Confidential filings, sealed orders, quiet moves that wouldn't reach Vanessa or Travis until it was too late to react. That night at dinner, Vanessa poured him a glass of wine, smiling as if the universe were still kind. "You've been distracted lately," she teased. "You okay?" He looked at her for a moment, then reached across the table and brushed her wrist lightly, the way he used to. "Just tired," he said softly. "Work's been rough." She squeezed his hand. "You work too hard, Daniel." "Maybe," he murmured, "but I've learned that hard work pays off in the end." Her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, then quickly turned the screen face down. He didn't ask who it was. He didn't have to. Later that night, when she went to shower, Daniel sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through the spreadsheet Meredith had sent him. Vendor invoices, duplicate payments, ghost suppliers. Each line item was another nail in the coffin of their betrayal. He looked up when she stepped out, wrapped in a towel, smiling. "You're still working?" "Almost done," he said, closing the laptop gently. She crawled into bed beside him, kissed his shoulder, and whispered, "Don't let that company own you, Danny." He smiled faintly in the dark. "Don't worry, it won't." She drifted off, and he sat awake again, listening to the steady rhythm of her breathing. His phone lit up with a message from Alyssa. "Court-approved emergency motion. Accounts frozen at midnight. Step 1 complete." Daniel stared at the glowing screen, the light reflecting in his eyes like fire. Midnight came, quiet and final. Somewhere in the digital world, the accounts locked, the trap closing around them both. Across the city, Travis's phone started buzzing with bank alerts he didn't yet understand. Vanessa slept peacefully beside the man who had just taken the first piece of her world apart. And as the clock struck 12, Daniel whispered into the stillness, "That's one." The next morning, Travis Langford's office door slammed hard enough to rattle the glass. His assistant jumped, clutching her tablet. "Sir? Get accounting on the line. Now!" he barked. He paced the room, his jaw set tight, his phone screen glowing with red notifications. Every account linked to the company showed the same thing. Frozen by court order, pending legal review. Meredith Ross entered moments later, calm and composed. She was in her late 40s, precise with her words and even more precise with her loyalties. "You wanted to see me, Travis?" He spun toward her. "What the hell is this? Why are all operating funds locked? I've got shipments delayed, vendors calling. What's happening?" Meredith tilted her head slightly. "A compliance audit," she said, "initiated by the CEO." Travis blinked. "Daniel did this?" "His signature's on the motion." He laughed bitterly. "That's impossible. He wouldn't. He doesn't have cause." "Apparently he does," she said evenly, sliding a folder across his desk. "Irregular vendor payments, duplicate invoices, and some interesting reimbursements." Travis flipped through the pages. Each one carried his initials. His stomach turned. "You think I'm stupid enough to forge my own trail?" Meredith met his eyes, unflinching. "I think you underestimated how much Daniel pays attention." Before he could reply, Daniel himself appeared in the doorway. Dressed sharply in a charcoal suit, calm as the morning after a storm. "Morning, Travis." Travis straightened, forcing a smile. "Guess we need to talk." "I'd say so," Daniel said, stepping inside. "I'll make this simple. There's a full financial audit underway. Until it's complete, I'll be handling all company accounts personally." Travis forced a laugh. "You think I'm stealing from my own company?" Daniel's tone didn't change. "I think the books should speak for themselves. You know how I feel about numbers." Their eyes locked. A quiet war fought through composure. Meredith stood frozen between them, pretending to shuffle papers, though she was listening to every word. After a long pause, Daniel turned to leave. "You'll get updates through legal channels," he said lightly. "Oh, and you might want to check your personal accounts too. I hear some of them are tied up in this." When the door closed, Travis let out a sharp breath, running a hand through his hair. "He knows something," he muttered. "But what?" Meanwhile, across town, Vanessa Cole was in the middle of her morning spa appointment, sipping mimosa, when her card was declined. Twice. The receptionist's polite smile faltered. "Ma'am, do you have another form of payment?" Vanessa blinked, confusion flashing across her face. "That can't be right. Try again." The same message appeared. Declined. She excused herself to the restroom, dialing Travis in a rush. "What's going on? My cards aren't working." Travis's voice came through, clipped and irritated. "You're not the only one. Everything's frozen. Company and personal. Daniel's behind it." Her pulse quickened. "Does he know?" "I don't know," Travis hissed. "But something's wrong. He's too calm." Vanessa's hands trembled slightly as she hung up. Her reflection in the mirror looked flawless, but her gut twisted. For the first time, she felt a chill of real fear. That evening, Daniel came home early. Vanessa met him at the door, forced a smile. "Rough day?" He smiled faintly. "Not really. Things are aligning." She laughed nervously. "My cards weren't working earlier. Did you change something with the accounts?" "Probably a system glitch," he said. "These banks make mistakes all the time." Her eyes searched his face. Calm, steady, too calm. He kissed her cheek and walked past her toward the study. "Dinner in 20? "Sure," she said softly, watching him disappear down the hall. Her heart thudded against her ribs. In the study, Daniel closed the door and dialed Alyssa Grant. "It's working," he said quietly. Alyssa's voice came through clear. "Good. The financial freeze will hold while we prepare the next move. Custody and DNA motions will follow once we finalize the evidence from the investigator." He nodded, eyes on the dark window. "How long before they realize what this really is?" "They'll know soon," she said. And by then, it'll be too late to fix. Daniel ended the call, his reflection watching him from the glass. Somewhere between justice and vengeance, he had found a kind of peace. In another part of the city, Travis sat alone in his office, phone pressed to his ear. "We need to lay low," he muttered to Vanessa. "No texts, no calls, not for a while." Her voice quivered. "You're scaring me, Travis." "Good," he said. "You should be scared." He's not acting like a man who just found out. He's acting like one who's already won. The line went dead. That night, Daniel stood on his balcony, watching lightning split the Dallas sky. The storm rolled in slow, deliberate, merciless. He whispered to the thunder, "That's two." Dallas nights had a way of hiding secrets under neon and rain. For Daniel Cole, it was the perfect city for silence, the kind that let a man rebuild his mind before the storm broke. Frank Dalton's voice came through the speakerphone, crisp over the hum of rain hitting glass. "You're going to want to see this one in person," he said. "Tonight." By now, Daniel didn't ask questions. He grabbed his coat and drove. The city lights blurred past, his reflection in the window as unreadable as the night. When he arrived at Frank's office, a narrow building tucked behind a car wash, he found the investigator surrounded by photos, files, and time-stamped documents. Frank gestured toward the desk. "Everything's organized chronologically. They've been seeing each other for almost a year." Daniel didn't flinch. His eyes scanned the images. Vanessa entering hotel suites, leaving in early morning light, Travis's car parked nearby, their phones pinging from the same tower at the same hour. Every photo felt like a cold knife. Frank slid one last folder across the desk. "This is what clinches it. They're sloppy with payments. He booked the Hyatt under an alias, but used her rewards number. I cross-referenced it. There's no mistake." Daniel leaned back, the leather chair creaking softly. "She's using company time, company money, and she's using my trust as cover." Frank's tone softened. "Most men lose their minds when they see this." Daniel's gaze was fixed on one photo, Vanessa laughing, head tilted back, Travis's hand on her waist. "I'm not most men." He gathered the files carefully, sealing them in an envelope. Before he left, Frank said quietly, "There's one more thing. I know you're not asking, but I ran background checks on the kids' birth certificates. The dates, they line up too neatly. If you want certainty, you'll need DNA." Daniel's fingers tightened on the envelope. "Arrange it." The next day, Daniel walked into Alyssa Grant's office and laid the evidence on her desk. She flipped through the photos, nodding slowly. "This is airtight, and if the paternity tests confirm what I suspect, we'll have the court by the throat." He stared at the wall. "Do it discreetly. I won't have her destroy them with lies." That afternoon, while Vanessa was out shopping, a nurse from the lab visited their home, posing as a family health consultant. Swabs collected from Daniel, Vanessa, Lily, and Mason, all under the guise of a routine insurance update. Vanessa laughed as she signed the forms. "Always something new with these companies." Daniel smiled faintly. "It's better to know what's ours." A week passed. The results came in an unmarked envelope. Alyssa called first. "Daniel," she said softly, "you need to sit down." He didn't. He listened standing, hand braced against his desk. "Neither child shares your DNA," she said. "Both match Travis Langford's." For a moment, the world went soundless, not the crushing silence of grief, but the heavy, deliberate quiet of a man crossing a line he could never return from. He thanked her, ended the call, and sat in his chair for a long time. The ceiling fan whirred. Somewhere outside, kids were laughing in the street. He stared at their family photo, the one Vanessa had insisted be taken last Christmas. Her hands around the children, his arms around them all. The photo cracked slightly under his grip. That evening, Vanessa breezed into the house in a floral dress, talking fast about her day, the boutiques, the weather. She didn't notice the way he looked at her. She didn't see the quiet verdict in his eyes. At dinner, she poured him wine again, her voice light. "The kids want to go to the zoo this weekend. Maybe you can take them. You've been so busy lately." He smiled, the kind of smile that hides a hurricane. "Of course. We'll go." She relaxed, relieved. See? That's why I love you. You're steady, predictable. He raised his glass. To predictability, he said softly. When she went upstairs to put the children to bed, Daniel opened his phone and sent a short text to Alyssa. Proceed to phase 3. 2 words. That was all it took to trigger everything. The custody petition, the subpoena for paternity confirmation, and the sealed evidence packet ready to hit court at dawn. Upstairs, Vanessa kissed Lily goodnight, humming softly. She paused at the bedroom door, catching her reflection in the hallway mirror. For a fleeting moment, she thought she saw something different in her own eyes. Fear, maybe, or guilt trying to whisper through denial. Then she heard Daniel's footsteps on the stairs and pushed it down. He stopped halfway, watching her from the shadows. "You're a good mother," he said quietly. She smiled. "Thank you." "But not to my children," he added softly. She turned, confused, the smile faltering. "What did you say?" Daniel didn't answer. He simply walked past her, the faint scent of his cologne lingering like judgment. Behind him, her voice trembled. "Daniel, what's happening?" He didn't look back. "The truth," he said. "Finally." Downstairs, his phone buzzed. Frank's message lighting up the screen. DNA confirmed. Timeline complete. They won't see this coming. Daniel typed 2 words in reply. That's 3. The next morning, Vanessa's world began to tilt. It started with Travis's call, urgent, rattled. "We need to meet," he said, his voice lower than usual. "Something's not right." Her heart skipped. "What do you mean?" Daniel's moving in silence. "The court filings. There's something. My lawyer just got wind of a sealed motion from his side. I can't access it. He's freezing me out completely." Vanessa stepped out to the balcony, robe cinched tight, morning wind brushing her hair. "You think he knows?" "I don't think," Travis said sharply. "I know he's cutting us off. We need to be smart now." She sank into the lounge chair, clutching her coffee cup like it was a lifeline. "I signed the divorce papers he gave me last week," she whispered. "He said it was just to make things easier before the formal hearing. I didn't even read them. He seemed so calm. I thought he wanted peace." Travis froze on the other end. "You what?" "He said he just wanted it over with," she said quickly, voice trembling. "He looked at me with this calmness. I thought he was letting go." "Vanessa," Travis hissed, "you never ever sign anything you haven't read. Get your own lawyer now." He gave her a name, Michael Reese, a seasoned attorney known for handling high-net-worth divorces. "He owes me a favor," Travis said. "Take your copy of the papers. Let him review them." By noon, Vanessa was sitting in a sleek office overlooking downtown Dallas. Michael Reese, a man in his 50s with silver hair and a lawyer's patience, adjusted his glasses and opened the folder she handed him. "Let's take a look," he said lightly. But as his eyes moved down the page, his expression changed. He flipped to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th page, then stopped. "Mrs. Cole, did you read any of this before you signed?" Her stomach turned. "No. Daniel told me it was routine." He leaned back slowly, the silence stretching. "This isn't a routine divorce. It's a full relinquishment. You waived every claim, spousal support, property rights, alimony. There's even a clause disqualifying you from future inheritance or stock entitlements." Her heart pounded in her ears. "That can't be right." "Oh, it's right," he said grimly, "and it's airtight. He had you sign a post-nuptial settlement disguised as a mutual separation agreement. Legally, you walk away with nothing." Vanessa stared at him, shaking her head. "He tricked me." Michael sighed. "It'll take serious litigation to fight this, and even then, you'd have to prove coercion or fraud. Given how calmly this was executed, that'll be nearly impossible." Her phone vibrated. Travis again. She answered, voice breaking. "He played me. Travis. He tricked me into signing everything away." There was silence on the other end, then a quiet curse. "I'll fix this," he said. "We'll fight it in court. My lawyer can help both of us." "Can he undo what I signed?" Travis hesitated. "If we prove Daniel knew about the affair before the signing, maybe. He could argue you signed in bad faith. But that's hard to prove." Her tears came hot and fast. "Oh my God, What am I going to do? Stay calm, he said firmly. We'll face him in court. Just bring all your documents to me tonight. Every account statement, every message, everything. That night, Vanessa arrived at Travis's penthouse with a folder full of papers and panic in her eyes. He poured her wine, tried to reassure her, but he was sweating too. They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Travis muttered, I think he's known for months. Vanessa looked up sharply. Then why hasn't he confronted us? Travis stared into his glass. Because he's not like us. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means he's not reacting. He's calculating. Outside, lightning split the sky. She pressed her hands to her face, her entire body trembling. He took everything, Travis. Everything. He stood, pacing. No, we'll get it back. I'll have my lawyer file a counter motion. You don't understand, she said, voice raw. It's not just money. He's going to destroy me. Travis turned toward her, forcing a reassuring smile. No one destroys us. We'll fix it. But he didn't sound convinced. Later that night, after she'd fallen asleep on the couch, Travis stepped onto the balcony, phone in hand, scrolling through his messages. Dozens of unread alerts from his bank, account holds, court filings, a subpoena from Melissa Grant's office. He exhaled, rubbing his face. Jesus Christ, he whispered. Inside, Vanessa stirred, murmuring his name. He looked at her, this woman who had cost him everything. And for the first time, resentment flashed behind his eyes. What did you get us into? He muttered. Down the street, Daniel watched from his parked car, headlights off. Through the window, he could see the faint movement of their silhouettes, wine glasses on the table, the kind of intimacy that used to belong to him. He checked his watch. 11:59 p.m., his phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. Court hearing confirmed. 9 a.m. Thursday, everything's ready. Daniel's thumb hovered over the screen. Then he typed 2 words. That's 4. The rain began to fall again. Soft, rhythmic, merciless. The courtroom smelled faintly of old wood and tension. Reporters filled the back row, their pens ready. The case, Cole versus Cole, had quietly spread through Dallas's corporate circles. No one knew exactly what was coming, but everyone sensed it would be catastrophic. Vanessa sat beside her attorney, Michael Reese, in a tailored navy suit that did little to hide the tremor in her hands. Across the aisle, Daniel Cole sat perfectly still. Dark suit, calm face, the embodiment of control. His lawyer, Alyssa Grant, whispered something to him, and he nodded once, his eyes never leaving Vanessa. When the judge entered, the murmurs died. All rise, the bailiff announced. Judge Rebecca Mills took her seat, glasses perched low on her nose. We're here for preliminary motions in Cole versus Cole regarding marital dissolution, custody, and financial settlement. Alyssa rose first. Your Honor, the respondent, she nodded toward Vanessa, has signed a separation agreement that fully and voluntarily relinquishes her rights to marital property, alimony, and assets. We are here only to confirm its validity. Michael stood next. Your Honor, my client was deceived. She was led to believe the document was a procedural formality. She had no knowledge of its content, and my opposing counsel's client exploited that trust. The judge tilted her head. Mrs. Cole, did you sign the agreement? Vanessa's voice wavered. Yes, but did anyone force you? No, she said quickly, but I didn't know what I was signing. Alyssa stepped forward. Permission to submit Exhibit A, she said. The clerk handed over a neatly bound packet, Vanessa's signed agreement, time-stamped, notarized and witnessed by the family's accountant. The judge flipped through it, then looked up. Mrs. Cole, this document includes a statement in your handwriting acknowledging full comprehension of the terms. Did you write this? Vanessa blinked, confused. That's not... She stopped. It was her handwriting, the note at the bottom. I, Vanessa Cole, fully understand and accept all terms stated above. Her throat closed. He must have added that later. Alyssa didn't flinch. The statement was written and initialed in the presence of 2 witnesses. Both have sworn affidavits on record. The judge raised a brow. Unless you can prove forgery, Mrs. Cole, the document stands. Michael leaned toward Vanessa, whispering urgently. Stay calm. We'll challenge chain of custody next. But Alyssa wasn't finished. Your Honor, we have additional evidence regarding the respondent's breach of marital fidelity and misuse of corporate assets. Exhibit B. The courtroom doors opened as Frank Dalton stepped in, carrying a sealed folder. He handed it to the clerk. Inside were photographs, transaction reports, and a log of GPS data. Alyssa addressed the court with surgical precision. For 1 year, Mrs. Cole engaged in an extramarital affair with Mr. Travis Langford, her husband's business partner. During that period, she used corporate funds to finance personal trips, hotel stays, and gifts under falsified vendor expenses. The gallery erupted in whispers. Vanessa's face drained of color. "That's a lie," she shouted, standing. "He's twisting everything. Travis can explain." "Excellent," said Alyssa coolly, "because Mr. Langford has been subpoenaed. He's waiting outside." The bailiff opened the door and Travis walked in. His suit was immaculate, but his eyes betrayed sleepless nights. He didn't look at Vanessa as he took the stand. Alyssa approached. "Mr. Langford, were you aware that Mrs. Cole signed away all financial claims before filing for divorce?" Travis hesitated. I wasn't aware of the exact terms. Were you in a relationship with Mrs. Cole during her marriage?" His lawyer tried to object, but the judge overruled. "You will answer the question." Travis's throat bobbed. "Yes." Vanessa turned toward him, her voice cracking. "Travis," he kept his gaze forward. "Yes, we were together." The room went dead silent. Alyssa's voice stayed steady. "And are you aware of the results of the paternity test ordered by this court?" Vanessa's head snapped up. "What test?" Alyssa handed a sealed envelope to the judge. Both children, Lily and Mason, were tested. The results confirmed that Mr. Langford is their biological father. The sound that escaped Vanessa wasn't a cry, it was a hollow gasp, the kind that drains air from a room. Her hands gripped the table as the words sank in. Judge Mills's tone was firm. "Is this true, Mr. Langford?" Travis looked down. "Yes." The courtroom broke into murmurs. Reporters scribbled furiously. Vanessa covered her face, shaking. No, that's not possible. He's lying, they're lying." Daniel didn't move. His calmness was almost cruel. He simply watched, eyes empty of warmth, as her entire world collapsed in front of strangers. The judge called for order. "Mrs. Cole, please sit down or I'll have you removed." Alyssa stepped back, closing her file with quiet finality. "Your Honor, given the evidence, financial misconduct, adultery, and confirmed paternity, my client requests full custody of the minors and enforcement of the signed settlement in its entirety." Judge Mills nodded. "Motion granted. Mrs. Cole's petition for annulment of the agreement is denied. Custody to Mr. Cole, assets as stated in the original settlement, case adjourned." The gavel struck. Vanessa's scream was soft, strangled, almost lost under the echo of the wood. Reporters swarmed as Travis rose from the stand, but he didn't meet her eyes. He walked out quickly, his reputation bleeding in real time. Daniel stood buttoning his jacket. For a moment he looked at Vanessa, his voice calm, almost gentle. "You should have sent that voice note to the right man." She tried to speak, but nothing came. As he turned to leave, Alyssa whispered, "That's 5." Outside the courthouse, the cameras flashed like lightning. Daniel walked through them untouched, his face unreadable. Behind him, the sound of Vanessa's breaking life followed like distant thunder. By dawn, the story was everywhere. CEO wins brutal court battle, partner named in affair and paternity scandal. Daniel Cole's name was splashed across every business feed in Dallas, his picture framed beside words like resilience, precision, strategy. Vanessa's name followed beneath, spouse stripped of assets after infidelity revelation. Travis Langford's photo came next, former co-founder under investigation for corporate fraud. The world had woken up to the wreckage Daniel left behind. He didn't watch the news. He sat in his quiet home, sipping coffee, sunlight spilling across the marble counter where Vanessa once set his breakfast each morning. The silence now felt earned. His phone buzzed. Meredith Ross again. "They're both finished," she said flatly. "The board voted this morning. Langford's shares have been frozen pending audit. The investors sided with you unanimously." Daniel nodded. "Good." What about the audit findings? They confirm everything, she said. Misappropriation, false reimbursements, unauthorized transfers. We'll file the civil suit this week. He smiled faintly. Perfect. On the other end of the city, Travis sat in his condo surrounded by unopened envelopes and a half-empty bottle of whiskey. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Clients, journalists, investors, all demanding explanations he couldn't give. Claire Langford stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, a printout in her hand, the headline glaring in bold. "You humiliated me," she said quietly. "You humiliated us." Travis lifted his head, eyes bloodshot. "Claire, please." She threw the paper at him. "The kids saw this. Our daughter asked me why her father's face is on the news with another woman's name. Do you have any idea what you've done?" He reached for her hand, but she stepped back like his touch burned. "Don't," she said. "You deserve every piece of what's coming." Then she left, slamming the door hard enough to shake the windows. Across town, Vanessa was a ghost in her own life. Her phone exploded with messages, friends pretending concern, enemies whispering satisfaction. By mid-afternoon, she couldn't step outside without someone pointing, snapping a photo, pretending not to stare. Her credit card still didn't work. Her accounts, gone. Her name, poison. She tried calling Travis, but he didn't answer. The third time, he finally picked up. "What do you want, Vanessa?" he said flatly. "What do I want?" she snapped, her voice cracking. "I want my life back. You promised me this wouldn't happen." He laughed bitterly. "Your life? You ruined mine too. You think I planned this? He played us both." She clenched her jaw, tears threatening. "We can fix it, Travis. We can appeal." He cut her off. "No, you can't. You're broke. I'm under investigation. And Daniel Cole owns everything we touched." "Please," she whispered, "I need you." But he'd already hung up. That evening, Daniel arrived at Cole Logistics headquarters for the first time since the verdict. The staff stood when he entered, not out of obligation, but respect. The company felt different now, cleaner, sharper, disciplined. Meredith met him at the elevator. "Reporters want a statement." He shook his head. "No statements. Let the truth speak for itself." As he walked past the glass boardroom where it had all begun, he paused. Through the reflection, he saw himself months ago, smiling beside his best friend, his wife laughing beside them, the illusion still intact. He almost pitied that version of himself. Almost. His phone buzzed again. Alyssa. "It's done," she said. "Civil fraud charges against Langford filed. We're reclaiming damages on behalf of the company." "Good," he replied. "Make sure the filings are public." She hesitated. "You really want to go that far?" "I'm not going that far," he said softly. "They are. I'm just clearing the path." Meanwhile, Vanessa sat in her car outside their old house, staring through the gates. The security guard, once friendly, approached the window. "Ma'am, Mr. Cole said you're not permitted on the property." Her lips trembled. "He's my husband." The guard's expression didn't change. "Not anymore, ma'am." As she drove away, the same gates she once entered in luxury now closed behind her with a dull, mechanical hum. Inside, Daniel stood in the foyer, watching her car disappear down the drive. For a brief second, something flickered behind his eyes. Not triumph, not rage, but sorrow too deep to show. Then the moment passed. Later that night, he sat with Alyssa, Meredith, and Frank in his study. They toasted quietly. No celebration, just closure. "To justice," Meredith said. Daniel swirled the amber liquid in his glass. "No," he murmured. "To consequences." Frank leaned back. "They'll turn on each other now. It's only a matter of time." "They already have," Daniel said, setting his glass down. "But let them. The noise they make will keep the world entertained while I build again." He walked to the window. Outside, the city glittered. A kingdom he now ruled alone. Behind him, lightning pulsed through the clouds, reflecting across the glass like fire. He whispered under his breath, "That's 6. The world forgot Vanessa Cole in weeks, but the internet never did. Her name still floated under every scandal headline, attached to words like cheating wife, betrayal, humiliation. Even strangers used her as a cautionary tale. Hashtags trending, podcasts dissecting the Cole affair. But for Vanessa, the noise never stopped inside her head. Every ring of her phone sounded like judgment. Every whisper in public felt like laughter. She was living in a small apartment now, a one-bedroom near the airport, walls bare, curtains thin. The furniture didn't match. The lights flickered when she turned them on. The irony burned her. She'd once thrown charity dinners for people who lived like this. Now she couldn't afford the wine she used to serve. Her reflection in the mirror startled her sometimes. The woman looking back had dark circles, chapped lips, the faint tremor of exhaustion. She reached for her phone again, dozens of unanswered calls to Travis. Finally, she typed, "Please, we need to talk." An hour later, his message came through. "Meet me at Langford Tower, midnight. Come alone." When she arrived, the building was dark except for a single light in the rooftop lounge. Travis stood by the window, suit rumpled, tie loose, the city lights painting sharp lines across his face. "Vanessa," he said quietly. She walked toward him, voice trembling. "Why haven't you answered me? We need a plan. The appeals." He turned sharply. "There are no appeals. Don't you get it? It's over." She flinched. "Don't yell at me. You promised." "I promised nothing," he snapped. "I lost everything because of you. My wife's gone, my name's a punchline, and my company's under investigation. You think Daniel did this alone? He had people feeding him. Someone inside gave him everything." Her breath caught. "You mean Meredith?" Travis laughed bitterly. "No, me. I gave him everything. He didn't even have to ask." She stared at him, confusion melting into horror. "You... what?" He turned back to the window, voice hollow. "He called me the night before the hearing, offered me immunity if I testified truthfully, said he'd let me keep whatever personal assets weren't tied to fraud." Tears welled in her eyes. "You betrayed me?" He faced her finally, eyes empty. "You were never mine to protect. You used me to climb, Vanessa. You wanted the power, not the person, and now we're both at the bottom." She stepped forward, voice rising. "I loved you." "No," he said coldly. "You loved winning. You loved what I could give you. Same as you loved what Daniel built, until you burned it all." She slapped him, the sound sharp in the empty room. He didn't move. Her voice cracked. "You're a coward." "And you're irrelevant," he said. "Go home, Vanessa, whatever that means for you now." She stumbled back, shaking, tears streaming as she grabbed her purse. "You think he'll let you walk away?" she spat. "You think Daniel forgives?" Travis smiled faintly, almost pitying. "He already did. That's what makes it worse." As she stormed out, his phone buzzed on the table. A message from an unknown number lit the screen. "Payment confirmed. File released." He froze, staring at the words. "Payment? File?" He opened his laptop, and the color drained from his face. A public drop link. Thousands of pages, emails, invoices, secret transfers, offshore accounts, all under his name. At that exact moment, notifications exploded. The media already had it. Breaking, new financial evidence. Implicates Travis Langford in $12 million corporate fraud. He staggered backward, mouth open, the realization cutting deeper than any betrayal. Daniel hadn't spared him. He'd used him. Immunity for cooperation had only covered what Daniel allowed. Everything else, every secret account Travis thought hidden, had just been fed to the world. Across the city, Daniel Cole stood in his penthouse office, watching the live news feed. The screen flickered with Travis's photo and scrolling legal text. Alyssa's voice came over the phone. "The drop worked. Federal charges incoming. He's finished." Daniel said nothing for a moment, then quietly, "And her?" "She's nothing now," Alyssa replied. "No money, no allies, no public sympathy. The tabloids have moved on. She's yesterday's noise." Daniel's eyes softened, just slightly. "Good. Let her fade." As he ended the call, thunder rolled over the city. He turned toward the rain-streaked glass, the skyline glowing like fire beyond it. Down below, Travis's empire burned in headlines. Vanessa's face faded from relevance, and for the first time in months, Daniel felt the quiet he'd been waiting for. He whispered to himself, "That's 7." He poured 2 glasses of scotch, one for himself, one left untouched on the table. A silent toast to everything he'd lost and the peace he'd earned through ruin. And somewhere across Dallas, a woman who once laughed like she owned the world sat in the dark, whispering the same question to no one. How did it all go so wrong? The storm outside answered for her, rumbling low and final, like the earth itself had closed the book on Vanessa Cole. The storm finally passed. Dallas woke to the smell of wet asphalt and the clean silence that only comes after something has been completely destroyed. Daniel Cole stood at the edge of White Rock Park just after sunrise, watching Lily and Mason chase each other near the water. Their laughter carried in the morning air, sharp and innocent, unburdened by the noise of the world. For a moment, he let himself forget everything that had come before. The courtrooms, the lies, the ruin. He felt the pull in his chest, the one that always came when he looked at them. He wasn't their father by blood, but he had been there for every scraped knee, every night of fever, every first day of school. Biology hadn't made him a father, consistency had. Mason ran to him, holding up a small frog with wide eyes. "Dad, look!" Daniel smiled, crouching down. "Put him back in the water, buddy. He belongs there." The boy nodded and ran off again. Daniel watched them play, his reflection rippling on the lake's surface. 1 man, 2 children, and a peace that still didn't feel quite earned. Alyssa's voice echoed in his mind from the last meeting they'd had a week earlier. "You've won everything you wanted, Daniel. The company, the case, even the kids. What comes next?" He hadn't answered then. He still couldn't now. Winning hadn't filled the silence that Vanessa's betrayal left behind. It had just made the silence louder. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. There was a message from Meredith, audit complete, full exoneration, press wants a comment. He typed back 2 words, no comment. Then he turned the phone off and slipped it away. He didn't need the noise anymore. A movement at the edge of the park caught his attention. A woman in a plain gray hoodie stood near the trees, watching from a distance. Her face was hidden under a cap. But he knew the posture instantly. Vanessa. Their eyes met across the space, brief, raw, wordless. She didn't move closer, and he didn't wave. The wind carried the sound of the children's laughter between them, the last bridge that connected what they used to be. For a long moment, she just stood there, trembling hands shoved into her pockets. Her eyes, once sharp with vanity, were hollow now, searching for something she couldn't name. Then quietly, she turned and walked away. Daniel watched her until she disappeared behind the trees. No satisfaction, no anger. Just the faint ache of knowing that this ending was the only kind of mercy left to give. He turned back toward the lake, kneeling as Lily tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, can we feed the ducks?" He smiled faintly. "Yeah, sweetheart, we can." They threw crumbs together, laughter mixing with the rustle of wings on water. In that sound, Daniel finally heard something new. Not revenge, not victory, just life moving forward. Hours later, as the sun rose higher, he drove home with the kids asleep in the back seat. The house was quiet when he carried them inside. He laid them on their beds, tucked them in, and lingered a moment by each door. Downstairs, his phone buzzed again. An unknown number. He ignored it. He'd learned that peace wasn't the absence of chaos, but the decision not to answer when chaos called. He poured himself a single drink and walked to the balcony. From up here, the city looked clean again, the glass towers glittering under the Texas sun. He raised the glass toward the horizon, whispering to no one. To kindness, the thing they mistook for weakness. He took a slow sip, set the glass down, and let the wind wash over him. Somewhere far away, thunder rolled, faint, almost gentle, like the world sighing its last line in a story that had finally ended. The camera would pull back slowly if this were a film. Daniel standing alone, a man who lost everything except himself. The sound of laughter from upstairs drifted down faintly, wrapping around him like redemption. He closed his eyes and breathed, steady, unhurried. The war was over. And for the first time since